one of the most interesting patient dynamics I've seen here is we do take care of VIPs,
Okay.
and not like celebrity VIPs, but like royal family VIPs.
Oh, wow.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Emergency Nursing podcast. This is where we share stories for inspiration, entertainment, and encouragement because we all know emergency nurses have the best stories. Now, here's your host, Kevin McFarland.
Hey everybody, Kevin McFarland here, and welcome back to the Art of Emergency Nursing. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you listening to the podcast. Sorry for my inconsistency lately. Life's been a little crazy, but I have a great episode for you today. This week's interview is with my friend Kim, and Kim is a nurse from the U.S. who is working abroad, and she's going to tell us a little bit about where she's working and what it's like living there. There's a lot of information here that's a little bit different than what we usually talk about in the podcast, but I found it really fascinating to hear about how care is given in another country and what the lifestyle is like. If you ever thought about traveling internationally as a nurse, you are going to love this episode. Kim is absolutely inspiring, and you, like me, are going to get a chance to live vicariously through her for just a little bit today. I hope you enjoyed this episode with my friend Kim.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. How's your shift? So it's morning for you, or is it evening for you?
It's evening for me. It's nearly 6 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, okay. So what are you're a day shifter, obviously.
Business, quote unquote business hours.
Oh, okay.
So, you know how that I'm an assistant manager, so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or so I don't actually. I work. In theory, 7 to 4:30, Sunday through Wednesday.
Yeah.
You've had management, right?
Yeah. Management, that is really in theory, and that theory doesn't always work out. So, believe me, I know that all too well.
Yeah. So, and then on Thursdays, so our week is shifted. Our weekend is Friday and Saturday.
Okay, that's it? Just Friday, Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, Sundays don't count this weekend?
No, Sundays are not. Sunday is my new Monday.
Interesting.
Thursday's my new Friday.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
because Friday's the holy in
okay.
Islam.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday is a day off.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I mean, I guess just like anything, just takes some getting used to.
Yes.
So.
I'm just in the last couple of months stopped saying Monday when I mean Sunday and Friday when I mean Thursday.
Yeah. That probably throws you and everybody else off. So instead of now, does it mean is your emergency department? So every emergency department I've ever been to is busy on Mondays. Does that mean yours is busy on Sundays?
Yes.
Yeah. Busy days on Sundays?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of funny how that works. And that seems to be a universal trend too. Like, anyone you talk to, you're like, oh, Mondays, right? And they're like, oh yeah, Mondays. Yeah, Mondays suck. And I'm like, I know, right? It's everywhere.
Yeah, but you know what sucks worse than Monday?
What?
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday worse?
Because Tuesday the census is already up. Hospital's full and they're still coming in.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it. I think that I'm very interested in hearing your stories. I'm interested in hearing a little bit about your travels. I don't know if you've listened to my podcast at all, but we just kind of focus on nurses and their stories. So we'll just kind of start with talking about you and then get into your travel and okay. Talk a little bit about that. And I'm curious. I'm always curious what emergency departments are like in other parts of the world. So,
okay.
So I'm going to live vicariously through you. Because I think what you're doing is just cool as shit. I think you're brave as hell. I'm like super impressed with you. I think it's really cool.
It's really not that scary from this end, but
it seems like it would be. I mean, you're half a world away from friends, family. I'm sure you got new friends there. I don't know if your family's
Mhm.
here or not, but for me, like think of like going across the world. I'm in the next state over. Like my family's in Albuquerque, and like I feel like I'm far from them. So it's
Yeah.
different. So I think you're brave as hell, and I'm super impressed with you. So
You're
there,
embarrassing me. Thank you.
that's good. That's okay. That's okay. No, but for real, like how cool. Okay, we'll get to that because I have so many questions. I have so many
Okay,
questions.
okay.
All right, so let's just start with a little bit about you. Um, Introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them who you are, what you do, and how long have you been a nurse?
All right. Hello, my name is Kim. I am currently working as an assistant head nurse in a hospital in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I've been a nurse for, I think this is my 11th year of nursing.
Nice.
Born and raised in Dallas, Texas. So I am definitely a Texan, followed by being an American. So, and it's funny here in Saudi Arabia, everyone knows Texas and everyone knows Houston.
No kidding.
So, yeah.
How funny is that? So, I guess I guess Houston and Texas for sure is definitely an American thing, and it's a culture all its own.
Yeah, well, I mean, Texan.
Yeah,
We're
totally.
special.
That's right. We are special. That's right.
But I'm sorry. I spent the first almost 10 years of my career at the same hospital in Dallas.
Okay. What hospital is that?
Uh, Parkland.
Parkland. Okay. Very cool. All
Yeah.
right. And what made you decide to go to Saudi Arabia?
Various things. At the time that I was looking at doing something like this, I think I was 33, about to be 34. And I'm my whole life I've dreamed about living overseas and working overseas. And part of that is because I'm bicultural. I'm half Chinese. So I was raised in a bicultural, bilingual household. And so when I imagined as a little girl living overseas, it was always, of course, Asia. But this dream kind of stayed with me my whole life, 30 plus years. And I had friends who had lived overseas in Indonesia and Germany, and I realized one day if I really wanted to pursue that dream, it had to happen now. So I went online. I literally Googled international nursing jobs. Some other jobs came up in like Kosovo, mostly military contract jobs. But then some job postings came up for the Middle East. And I sent my resume to a recruiter, and they called me back same day.
No
Said,
kid.
based on your resume, you'd be perfect for this position in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I'm like, sure. I'm happy to interview and see where this goes. So,
That's really
um,
cool.
yeah.
Holy cow. Talk about taking a leap, huh?
I knew very little about Saudi Arabia before I came here, except for that pork is haram and I wouldn't have access to bacon or alcohol.
And how long have you been there?
I've been here almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in April.
Nice. How different is nursing any different there? I mean, it seems like it would all be pretty much the same.
Nursing is nursing. You're end of the day, you're still having to provide compassionate care to people. So, and the hospital I'm at, they call they follow the quote unquote American model. So, but I work with nurses from I think over 30 other countries.
Wow. Holy
So,
cow.
in the end of the day, we're all nurses. We're all here to take care of patients
That's
and do what's best for them.
It's one of the things I found also is that when I talk to people from other countries, it's a lot of it's the same.
Yeah.
They have their busy days like we have our busy days, and it's they the body physiologically is the same wherever. So you can figure stuff out for sure. So
Yeah. exactly. There's just subtle differences, but our problems are the same. I've realized truly how universal a lot of issues are, like boarding in the emergency department
You guys
and
board
lack of
patients?
access. The unit I'm on currently, so when I first got to Saudi, I was in our emergency department, and I'll tell you a little bit more about our hospital in a bit, but I was in our main emergency department, and last March they asked me to take a position in our overflow unit. So
Oh, nice.
my entire unit is
Is
dedicated to
dedicated to holds.
treating, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad it's not just an American thing that we have overflow units, because there's
No,
always
and
overflow.
when I talk to, yeah, when I talk to, even nurses from the UK who have, like, the NHS have steep penalties if you board patients too long in the emergency department. They have ways around that, but at the end of the day, those patients are still boarded.
Yeah, it's always a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
So, holy cow. Anything else that struck you as interesting, that it was either the same or different?
Um, you know, so the hospital I'm working at is a tertiary referral center. So we're a specialist hospital. We typically don't have patients just walk in off the street. It does happen. They're either stabilized and sent out, or seen and told your condition is not critical. Here's your bill. Follow up at another hospital.
Interesting.
Our patients come to us. Yeah, our patients come to us from all over Saudi Arabia, which is actually a fairly large country. It's bigger than Texas. So, and we see patients with cancers, medical or genetic abnormalities, a lot of transplant patients, patients that are too sick for other hospitals within Saudi Arabia to really take care of. And as we're also a research center, so patients come to us for experimental treatments as well. That being said, our emergency department is open to employees and existing patients to walk in whenever they need to. So patients who have these, you know, I can get a medical genetic kid with a kidney transplant walking into my emergency department to
Holy cow.
for a respiratory infection, and they're already just a complicated picture,
Yeah.
medically speaking. So
But Bob can't just say, "Hey, you know what? I have a shot a nail into my hand," and just show up at the hospital. They got to go to a different hospital.
no, no, we get very few traumas. The few traumas that we have gotten were either like we had a pediatric renal transplant patient who was hit by a car.
Lord.
Um, and we got a police officer who crashed his vehicle right in front of the gates of our hospital. So my hospital's surrounded by a wall and has 8 gates. So
Wow.
they only access those 8 gates.
So are there other hospitals that people can just walk into? Just anybody, or
Oh yes.
yeah? Okay.
Yes, there are other hospitals. There are local hospital. They call them local hospitals, but most of the hospitals here are related to your employment. So we have military hospitals. So if you're a member of the military, your family member works for the military, then that's the hospital you go to. If there are local private hospitals, but healthcare here, unless you go to a private hospital, is um, if not completely free, is subsidized.
Okay.
So the patients at my hospital, for example, don't pay anything for their treatment.
Wow.
They don't pay anything for housing. They don't pay for their flight. So since we do accept patients from all around Saudi Arabia, we'll sometimes fly them in for treatment, evaluation, transplants. We'll fly them in, put them in housing, and keep them in Riyadh until their course of therapy is over, and then we fly them home.
Holy cow. And no, and it's
Yeah.
subsidized. It's free.
it's free for our hospital. Currently, the way it's set up, the patients don't pay anything. Like even myself as an employee, when I go and see the doctor, like I have a cold right now, um, if I need to go get some cold medication, I get it for free.
Wow. Like even like transplant and stuff? Because holy cow. That,
Yes, even transplants.
wow. Interesting. So
Yep.
it's just like state funded, essentially. Like
By the royal
rough,
family,
rough.
yes. It's
Okay.
funded by the royal family.
Okay. Interesting. It's definitely a different model than what we're used to in America, that's for sure. And how,
There's always talk about private.
huh?
There's always talk and rumor that we're going private, so I'll believe that when that happens.
Yeah. And again, it's tied mostly to your insurance or mostly to your employment. So if you work for a place and that's the hospital they use and that's the hospital you go to. Interesting. It's a different model than what I'm used to hearing. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
But there's insurance here too. You can have insurance.
Okay. Do you need
Like
it?
I have, I don't.
Yeah.
All of my care comes from the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Or and sometimes you can just walk into a pharmacy, any pharmacy, and buy what you want. So, like I can go and get birth control pills without a prescription.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
If you know what you want, you can just go in and just get it.
Yep.
Same for narcs? Like
No,
narcotics?
narcs are controlled. Narcotics are controlled.
Okay.
You know, Saudi Arabia being the kind of country it is, you know, illegal substances, narcotics are all they're considered haram unless you really need it.
What does that mean?
Um, Haram means against Islam.
Okay.
So it's you you know, like back home. If you want to buy the pseudoephedrine, you need to show your driver's license because you
Yeah.
can take it, make meth.
Yeah.
I can just go buy it, no problem. Don't have to show any ID, just buy what I need and leave the store.
Okay. That's kind of nice.
Yeah,
So,
up until about a year ago, you could do the same with antibiotics, but they're recognizing that that's an issue with resistance. So they started requiring prescriptions for antibiotics.
well, it makes sense because you go and you be like, "Hey, I need an antibiotic," and they're like, "Well, what do you got? Like, what do you need?"
Right.
So, I mean, like, excuse me. I guess that would make sense. You're like, well, how do you know you need an antibiotic? How do you know you just don't have a virus? So, interesting. That's really interesting. It's always interesting to hear from different places in the world where things are just so different. So that's kind of cool. I mean, that's certainly the free healthcare thing is wow. That's really kind of cool. And does
Yeah, I
that
mean, it's not for everyone in the whole country, but
yeah
it's quite a few people.
yeah a lot.
Yeah.
Are there uninsured people who don't have healthcare?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They're
Okay.
they're mostly like not really immigrants. So Saudi Arabia doesn't grant people citizenship. So people will come from other countries and they'll live and they'll work here. They'll have children here who are raised here, but if you are not a Saudi citizen, you are not eligible for some of the benefits.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. So,
Yeah.
and now do they have a big narcotic like drug problem? Do you guys have drug problems? You guys have alcohol problems? You said alcohol was not allowed there. I think you said.
It's a problem, but it's not a problem that is recognized or even really addressed.
Interesting.
So yes, we get a lot of patients with cirrhosis that just magically happens.
Like it's the weirdest thing. They have cirrhosis
That's
of the
the
liver. I
weirdest
don't
thing.
know. He might
Yeah.
he might have an alcohol level. We don't know why.
Well, we don't test alcohol for alcohol levels. I think I've done I not never, but I think we've done it maybe once or twice in the last year and a half, 2 years
Interesting.
that I know of.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so this is the logic I use with my friends. So alcohol doesn't exist in this country. It is not recognized. Therefore, drinking and driving does not exist.
Ah, okay. But
Yeah, there are a lot of erratic drivers.
gotcha, gotcha. And what about like other drugs? Like, like, are other drugs an issue there? Like, do they have, do they have, like, is marijuana legal there? Is
So marijuana is illegal. The form you find here mostly is hash that
hmm
comes in from like Afghanistan, and it's widespread. It's everywhere. It's easier for me to get hash than for me to buy alcohol um, in the black market.
interesting?
Real alcohol is really expensive.
Is it? All right. So no wine for you, huh?
Well, it's all about your connections, right? So, I have friends who there's embassy events.
Oh,
And so
nice.
embassies get their alcohol shipments in like lead line containers. So it's one of these kind of open secrets that the Saudi government knows that the embassies are bringing in alcohol, but it's kind
Just
of a controlled environment.
kind of turns a blind eye to it, and like, well, all right, well,
Yeah, yeah. So,
You
well,
Americans need your fun.
it's not just the Americans. I've been to
Yeah.
events at the Irish, French, Australian, New Zealand embassies. Uh, Yeah, and of course the American Embassy. They all know that alcohol is consumed on the embassy grounds,
Yeah.
but as long as it's not taken out of off the embassy grounds, because embassies are considered sovereign to the country that owns it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I'm at the American Embassy, I'm in America.
Yeah.
When I'm at the Irish Embassy, I'm in Ireland.
Yeah. Gotcha. Gotcha. That's interesting. That's kind of cool. So, what was the biggest surprise being in that very different environment?
Oh, how much fun I would have and how busy my social life would be.
Yeah.
I came here expecting to just sit in my apartment and finish my master's degree and then work, save money, go on trips, and then go home. And I originally came with the intention of staying only 1 year.
Okay.
I have now I've almost completed my second year. I've made exactly zero progress in my master's degree. I I am out all the time. Every weekend is busy with social activities, parties, embassy events, hiking, like dance classes. I play street hockey with people. And, you know, I live at the hospital.
Oh, really?
So I told you earlier. Yeah, I told you earlier I have a 6-minute walking commute.
Yeah.
That's
I
from my
was going to
time
ask you about
to my
that.
front door.
That's
Yeah.
what?
That's from my time clock to the front door.
Wow. Holy cow. You're like,
So,
just walk down the street.
yeah.
So the hospitals offer housing.
So, coming to Saudi Arabia, housing is included. I don't pay for housing. I don't
Nice.
pay for any bills associated with my housing except for internet and my cell phone,
That's not bad.
which, you know, America, we charge way too much for data on our plans.
Do
It's
we?
so cheap to have, data and stuff on phones pretty much everywhere else in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting screwed. We pay a lot for internet between our phones and our house. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure we're getting the short end of the stick there. So,
Oh, so badly. Yes. But anyway, so I don't pay taxes here. I don't pay taxes at home. Um,
how do you, and
it's
how does that work? Do you have to like don't you have to like come back every so often just to kind of make sure you're still, check in with the US, or how does that work? Or how does the tax thing work?
Oh, okay. So as long as I reside outside of the United States for more than like basically, I mean, how do I say this? I can't be home for more than 30 days
Okay.
in a calendar year.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if I am home for more than 30 days, then I have to pay taxes on my income.
Okay.
If I stay out of the country and I make under, I forget the exact number, it's like $94,000-$95,000 a year,
Okay.
it's all mine.
Nice. Very cool.
So I don't pay for health insurance here. I don't have rent. I don't pay the electric bill. I don't pay for water or trash. I don't
Wow.
pay for anything here.
So you're and we're not going to talk about how much you make, but so you're what you make is what you make. It's yours.
What I make is what I make. It's my money.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So, so how does it compare? I would assume then you're probably making more than you were making at home when you're in
I
Texas.
net I net less, or I'm sorry, I was it net and gross. Anyway, my take home is more than my take home back in the States.
Yeah, but you're
What the, but what I make, the final
hourly.
dollar amount is less than what I was making back home.
Okay, but you're bringing more
Well,
home. So
but I'm bringing more home
and
because I'm not paying taxes and I'm
yeah,
not paying for insurance.
yeah, taxes, insurance, rent. Yeah, that all that makes a big difference. Holy cow,
Yeah.
that's good for you. That's awesome.
Well, I still have a mortgage. I have a condo I'm paying mortgage on back home, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah,
it's worth it to have a place to land if you ever decide you're
yeah,
ready to come back. So
yeah.
that's cool. That's really cool. I think that's one of the things that people are always interested in. Like, how would that work, and like, how does that go? Because I think there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast that would love to do what you're doing. So,
Well,
um,
do it. The opportunities are drying up, but
are
because
they
there's yeah, they're pushing for more national, like, there's this program called Saudization 2030. And so the whole idea is to increase the number of Saudis in the workforce by 2030. And so we actually have targets that we have to meet when we're hiring nurses. And so a certain percentage of our nursing staff must be Saudi. And we have
okay?
to slowly increase that percentage each year.
Okay. Now, forgive my ignorance. I don't know. Is Saudi a safe place to live? Is it like what's it like to
Oh,
live there?
yeah. Um, I feel very safe here. I have my license. I bought a car off a friend when he was leaving, so I do have a little bit of expense around that. Um, I, as an expat Western woman, I can go just about anywhere I want to. Um, it is a culture shock, absolutely, living here. I even with MBS, so that's what we call Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, and he's a very controversial figure on the world stage. But MBS has been very progressive here in Saudi Arabia, and so um, since in the time that I've been here, when I first got here, women weren't driving. Women had to wear abayas when outside, and an abaya is basically covering from the neck down, and I don't have to cover my hair. I don't have to cover my face. Uh, I have been yelled at to cover my hair by Matawa, but the Matawa, the religious police, no longer have the power or authority to enforce certain cultural, um, um, what's the word for it? They can't enforce things like they used to. So even just 3 or 4 years ago, if you were eating at a restaurant with a member of the opposite gender, they could come up to you and say, "Show me your marriage certificate.
Really?
Prove that, yes,
Wow.
prove that you're related."
Wow.
Uh, yeah, but now it's not a thing anymore. I go out and eat in mixed groups all the time. I've gone on dates with guys at restaurants and stuff. And as long as you're not publicly affectionate, no holding hands or walking too close or anything like that, then you're fine.
Okay. And
Um,
that's interesting.
it's just
That's
it's just a very interesting, like, I just have to remind people who get upset, like, look, you chose to come here,
yeah.
so you follow the rules, and they're fairly easy rules to understand once you're here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that you thought was very similar to the U.S. when you were there, where you're like, oh yeah, it's just like home?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, all the cars on the roads are like Fords and Chevys.
Yeah.
Um, big trucks everywhere.
Okay.
Of course, oil, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but still fairly cheap.
How much is gas?
Uh,
How much does gas cost there?
oh, let me see. I have a Ford Edge. The most I ever spent to fill up was like 120 SAR, which is like $35 for a full tank
Okay, that
for a
seems
small SUV.
pretty comparable to here, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that was like right after the so I know you were asking about safety, and we've had some events here like the drone attacks on the Aramco um, fields and stuff. So
Yeah.
gas did go up a little bit after that attack happened because they were concerned about scarcity and stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, like the processing plants and all that were not functioning for a while. But you know, I do feel safe here. Uh, gun violence is not a thing. The
Really?
scariest thing, yeah. Um, you know, penalties here are so steep that people are afraid of committing crimes. I've walked by the same like equivalent of like $5 sitting on a bench. I've walked past it for like 4 days straight before it finally disappeared.
They're like, yeah, I'm not touching it. You're like, no.
Yeah, you know, the these like biblical type laws are still in existence. They still behead people. They still cut off
Wow,
hands. There's still steep penalties for breaking the law.
that's
You
crazy.
know, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, adultery isn't just oh, I might get divorced. It's you might get divorced, but then you're gonna have 30 lashings before that.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Note to the married folks, don't commit adultery over there. That'd be bad.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, and like yes, there's drone attacks and there's missile attacks, but the U.S. military has a very strong presence here, and there's a like defense system that surrounds the city that's designed to detect and shoot down any approaching missiles.
that's crazy.
So
Yeah. Guess that's something we don't have to worry too much about in Texas. Just saying.
yeah, but I do have to worry about getting shot or
Uh,
pissing off the wrong person and getting shot and
yeah, I guess that's always a possibility. I mean, I think there's probably some people want to shoot me occasionally. So that's interesting. That's really interesting. So, and how have you been? So I know you travel a lot. How has it been traveling from there? Is it an easy destination to get in and out of? Like, have you expanded your travel your passport usage?
oh, absolutely. So part of the draw of coming here is I get 54 days of vacation a year.
Wow,
I
54?
know, you're
50?
54.
Oh, crap.
54.
Okay, are you hiring? Are you hiring? Because I'm coming.
Come on. Um, so um and that's even without so the king will occasionally decree additional holidays. And so we'll get those as well. My first year here, I got 6 additional days.
Nice. Now,
So I had 60 days of
I would imagine as nurses, someone's still got to work. You just get that day somewhere else, like anywhere else. Yeah.
and we take them back. Yeah, they have a way to do it in the system, but um, yeah. So 54 days of leave, and our sick days do not come out of that.
Wow. Holy cow.
Sick time is totally separate.
Wow, that's kind of cool. So you've done some traveling while you've had this time off?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I've been to Hungary, Romania, Moldova. I just went to Georgia like a week ago for
Nice.
4 days. Country of Georgia, not state.
Not the state. Yeah.
Uh, not the state. I'm going to Egypt this weekend.
How cool is that?
Um, it is very
And
cool.
how far are
Uh,
all these places? Is it like how far a flight roughly?
um, from here to Cairo is like an hour and a half.
Wow, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Um, you know, from here to Georgia, I had a layover, so it's about 6 hours.
Okay.
Um, it's 6 hours to London from here.
Okay.
That's direct flight. It's about 7 hours to Paris. I've been to Paris, or I went to France. Again, that was like my third time there.
Nice.
Um, I was able to do, because of the generous vacation time, I was able to do a very extended trip. I did the Trans-Siberian Railroad with fellow ENA people.
How cool was I seen all your pictures and oh my god,
Yeah.
that looked really, really cool.
That was such an amazing experience. I love train travel. That's like when I went to when I did Romania, Hungary, and Moldova on the same trip, and so I from Budapest, I took a train to Bucharest. It was an overnight train, and woke up while we are coming through the mountains, and it was just such an amazing trip. I love taking trains, but the Trans-Siberian Railroad is, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Um,
How long is that route? Like how long was that train trip?
I think like oh, it's nearly 3 weeks, but we stopped and we had stops off in like Mongolia. We were there, I think, for like 3 days. Um, and fortunately, I had a slight issue with my visa, so I had to leave the group when they were in Irkutsk. But from Irkutsk to Yekaterinburg, it's like 3 days by train, 2 nights.
Wow.
I did miss that leg. So if you want more information on that trip and what that was like, talk to Jeff.
Yeah.
So, but that was definitely a bucket list trip
I bet.
that we,
Holy cow.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, Beijing to through, like Mongolia has always been a country I've wanted to go see.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be able to do that. And Russia, I didn't think I would enjoy Russia as much as I did, but there's just something about it. It's amazing. Um, yeah, I'm starting to like realize I've been to a lot of the former USSR.
Well, that's cool though. How interesting, cuz how many people never get a chance to be there, do that? I mean, that's
Oh,
pretty amazing.
and of course, I've been um, I have family in Taiwan. I mentioned earlier I'm half Chinese, so I was able to go home or go to Taiwan for a week and see my family when my cousins got married. And of course, all the countries here in the Middle East. I've been to Bahrain, which I know a lot of people don't even know what Bahrain is. It's a little island just in the Arabian Sea. I've been to the UAE multiple times, Dubai, Abu Dhabi. And then I'm trying to plan a trip to Oman at the end of February, just for the weekend.
That's cool. And how close is that? That's like real close, isn't it?
It's like an hour flight.
That's not bad. So I got a call. I do some teaching on the side with a company called MedEd. And MedEd called and they're like, hey, do you want to go do this program in Oman? And I'm like, yeah, of course I do. And they're like, yeah, they were like talking to me about going and teaching triage. And I'm like, absolutely. You know, they're like, do you want to do this? I'm like, hell yeah. They're like, do you have a passport? And I'm like, I do. Um, and I was like so excited about it. And like, you know, they were like kind of planning it and some stuff work. It was kind of coming out little by little and they're kind of getting everything together. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, they lost their funding. And I was like, oh.
Oh,
I was so looking forward to that. I thought that was just going to be the coolest thing ever. So, and
sucks.
my wife's like, "You're gonna go where? Like for real? You're gonna go? You want to do that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure." So,
Muscat's amazing from what I've heard, and Oman is quite a beautiful country.
I bet
Yeah.
I bet that's really cool. So, well, holy cow, man! I admire you. You are amazing to be able to just go have the courage to go do that. That takes a lot of guts. Like that takes a lot of guts to travel all over the world when your family's far from there, and you know it's just amazing. I'm super impressed by you.
Well, I mean, anyone can do it. You just put your mind to it, and you just say one day, say, "Yeah, I'm doing it."
One
But
day you're like,
uh,
let's go.
yeah, I'm a big fan of solo traveling. I like traveling with people I know, but occasionally, like when I went to Georgia, I just took off and went by myself.
I think there's something to be said for traveling because I do a lot of travel by myself. 'Cause, I'll go for like conferences or go for different things, and there's something to be said for traveling by yourself and you know just being with yourself. You know.
Well, there's that, but I think it opens up. Uh, so when I went to Georgia, uh, my second full day there. I'm having a late lunch. I'm just sitting there, kind of bored, and this guy sits down at a table across from me, speaking. He orders in English, but he has an accent. So I say to him like, "Hey man, you traveling by yourself?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh hey, you want to join me for lunch?" And he's like, "Okay, sure." And that probably kicked off one of my favorite traveling stories.
No
We
kidding.
end up. His name is Murat. He is half Ukrainian, so he speaks fluent Russian. He's half Yemeni, but doesn't speak any Arabic, living in Belgium, across the border from the Netherlands. So he and I are take off. We start bar hopping and like talking to random Georgians, and um, then we see this really interesting guy kind of jumping around at this old church fortress thing, and so we like end up talking to this guy. He's his name's Rowan. He's been riding a bicycle from Thailand to going back to the UK.
Holy cow! On a bike.
You meet him on a bicycle,
Wow.
not even a motorcycle, bicycle.
Yeah.
So we're talking to Rowan and invite him along as a hangout. We're like trying to make our way to this waterfall that I had heard about, and he invites us to this dive bar afterwards to for a couch surfing meetup. Have you heard of this couch surfing?
No.
It's a whole community of people, and basically you can host or you can couch surf. But the idea is that you're traveling, you're staying in these people's homes on their couch or in a spare room, and you're not paying anything.
Nice.
I have a friend, yeah, I have a friend in Bahrain who is a couch surfing host. He also uses it when he travels sometimes, but he he's made some great friends from this. He's gotten some great perks. Flight attendant from Emirates put him um, on as a family member, so now he gets 50% off flights with
How cool is that?
us. But it's this whole kind of community of people who believe in like you barter, you meet people, you make friends, and it's kind of this free spirited society, and they're really interesting people.
I bet that's amazing. How cool is that?
Yeah,
So
it was just such a fun night.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think people like that, that kind of free spirit. It's just it's crazy to see, and it scares the bejesus out of me to it would scare the bejesus out of me to do it. But holy cow, how cool! Like
Yeah.
it would be that those kinds of things would be amazing to do. So
But like I think of it this way is if I had gone to Georgia with some of my friends from here, uh, I probably would have never met up with these two people and
you would
heard
have
their
never, yeah,
stories
yeah,
and what they're doing. So
yeah.
traveling by myself opens me up to new opportunities.
That's cool. That's, I bet you've met amazing people from all over the world.
Oh my gosh, such amazing people. Yeah, here and traveling. I on the train in Russia, I had an entire conversation using Google Translate because the Russian guy didn't speak English and I don't speak Russian.
That's funny. And
And we
how
just had time to so we,
and how did it work out? Did it work out okay?
yeah, I mean it takes a little bit longer. It's a slower conversation, but we
Yeah.
talked about politics and what it's like to grow up poor in Russia and like the his job and taking him away from his family. I honestly don't even remember what I told him about me and growing up in the US, but he's former military. Now he does like oil field cleanup. He travels all around Russia, but he gets to see his family basically one weekend a month.
Oh my
Travels on the
gosh.
train. And what was really interesting was he was talking about how he misses the days of the USSR and he's proud that he was born during that era. Like, we're in the US and we're thinking, oh, that must have been such an awful time. But you talk to some people and they miss it. They miss
Interesting.
the equality and that he feels like his opportunities would have been better under the USSR than it is now.
Interesting. That is interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. But huh.
Yeah,
Wow. That's kind of crazy. So,
it is.
how interesting. What a cool thing to do.
Mm.
No, like I said, I'm super impressed with you and I think that's awesome that you're doing that. It's really really cool. So,
Yeah.
what
I've gotten to do cool things in nursing here too.
tell me a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff you've done in nursing there. Like
Um, oh, being short-staffed, chronic issue.
chronic issue, universal.
Yeah,
Yeah, universal issue.
universal. So almost
Do you guys have like staffing ratios or it's just
you don't.
you get this many people and you get what you get?
You get what you get. We do try to follow some sort of guidelines and ratios to maintain patient safety, because safety is a big concern in my hospital. We're actually on a zero harm journey. Um, so it's a big goal, but that's kind of that's the focus at the hospital.
Okay.
So, um, one of the most interesting patient dynamics I've seen here is we do take care of VIPs
Okay.
and not like celebrity VIPs, but like royal family VIPs.
Oh wow. And
Yeah.
there's got to be a little pressure there.
Oh, absolutely. They don't want to wait for anything, and they're not expected to wait for anything.
Yeah.
Plus, I kind of feel like since the funding comes from the royal family, there's that additional pressure. Like they're
Like
paying for everything,
they're like
so
they're like, hey, this is my hospital. Okay.
basically, I've actually had them tell me that.
Really? Holy cow.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
and how did that go?
uh,
Like, was it intimidating to take care of somebody who's like a royal?
depends on how high up they are in
Okay.
the family.
Yeah. Because there's like
So,
the royals, and then there's like, yeah, you're probably related to a royal
well,
somewhere.
yeah,
You
you have to,
you married and you did okay. So
or you have the right tribal name. So it's a tribal society,
okay.
and different tribes have different amounts of wasta or influence and power. And that's a very very big focus here. But so the Al Saud family is the family in charge of Saudi Arabia. They're the ones who like 80 years ago, 88 years ago, something like that, uh, created Saudi the way it is today.
Oh really?
Yeah, before that, it was a bunch of like warring tribes.
Yeah.
So they kind of basically conquered all the other tribes and solidified the country. Um, most royals, I mean, actually, the higher up it seems like the royals are, the cooler they are. We do have a dedicated space in the emergency department for them, and we have a dedicated inpatient unit, and we have dedicated outpatient clinics. So unless you are royal or they kind of have the influence to get you seen in one of these areas, then like I my the emergency department can be completely full, and I'll have like 3 beds available in what we call protocol. So that's where we take care of the royals and the VIPs. But those beds will still remain empty because just in case the royal family member needs it,
Yeah.
we have a separate code room just for
Okay.
the top VIPs.
Holy cow.
So,
And how is it different?
yeah.
Is it any different, or is it the same? Is it just, dedicated?
Um, Everything happens a lot faster.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course everything happens faster. But is it like the inpatient units for the royals? Is it like, whoa, like
Yeah.
the only example I have is at the hospital I used to work at. We had what we called the terrace, and the terrace was the really nice rooms, very low patient nurse to patient ratios, and it was, like they had like one nurse had maybe 2 patients, and you had a tech. It
Yeah.
was, but you
So,
paid for that.
so a lot of the royals here actually hire private nurses
Okay.
for like the Philippines or Malaysia or Indonesia.
Okay.
And actually, a lot of families in general, they have hired help. The hired help, and this is one of the things I actually really have appreciated is 99% of the time, my patient comes with a sitter. So that's a family member or a hired maid, or if they're like a chronically like bedridden patient, it's often a private nurse that
Okay.
will do most of the care for the patient, like
Okay.
turn them, carry care, things like that. Um, so the royal units is no exception. They usually have private nurses around the clock care as well as the hospital nurse.
Okay.
Um, the They get their rooms are 2 to 3 times larger than normal patient rooms.
Wow.
And they usually get their room next to it to use as like a sitting area or extended closet or for their entourage because most of the royals will come with like 5, 8 people just there to you know security,
Make sure they're okay. Yeah.
drivers, runners, just random hanger honors too.
Yeah.
Um, like celebrities back home
Yeah.
have this. Um, and then the top VIPs, like the immediate royal family, um, they get a separate wing that nobody's allowed into. So I only know of people who've told me what it's like. Everything's gold
Okay.
and more like a hotel than an
Yeah.
actual
Hospital. Yeah.
hospital.
Huh. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but so I treat them all the same, like I would any other patient. Um, it's easier sometimes because most of the royals are educated outside of Saudi Arabia, so they speak English, um, unlike the majority of the regular Saudi people. But
Gotcha.
quite a few people do speak English though,
Yeah.
and I've picked up a little bit of Arabic.
That's good.
Um, yeah, and
Now,
so the
do you guys have particular protocols for taking care of the royals? And are you trained in those before you have to take care of a royal?
No, basically just you you just jump to like
Yeah, jump to just get it
we
done.
triage. Yeah, a royal patient would be triaged before anyone else, unless they're actually like a CPR in progress. But
Yeah.
even then, you're apologizing to them for the wait, and we'll get you seen for the wait.
Yeah.
I've had royal patients refuse triage, and you just don't argue with them. You're like, okay, fine.
All right.
Um, yeah. I mean, there's no sense in arguing with them. I've, you know, I just treat them the same as every other patient. They do prefer Western nurses. They
Okay.
prefer nurses from like England, UK, Canada, and US, and Australia, New Zealand. Um, so they do treat us with more respect than they do with the nurses from other parts of the world.
Okay.
So when I was doing staffing, I would take that into consideration.
All right.
So making staffing assignments here can be really tricky. Like you have to balance not only skill mix, but you're also balancing out nationalities because you don't want to put all the Indian nurses together because then they stop speaking English. You put all the Filipino nurses together, they stop speaking English, or they might bully the one non same nurse,
Yeah.
non is from the same nation that they're from. So skill mix, nationality, gender, you have to consider where are you putting your patients. You can't put all of your male nurses together and all your female nurses together because it's quite difficult for a male nurse to take care of a female patient here. All the modesty and privacy that they require. Uh, but I've taken care of not super high level VIPs, maybe some mid range. I had one who's like, oh, just call me Mo. And his name's Mohammed, and that's a common name, so I'm not really breaking HIPAA.
Yeah. Yeah.
HIPAA doesn't really exist here. There is confidentiality guidelines and rules, but like if I have a guardian of a patient, so guardianship is a thing here. Female patients have guardians. Could be their son, it could be their brother, it could be their husband. And that person has access to all of that patient's information with or without their permission.
Interesting. Huh.
In fact, if a patient's father comes to me and they're the guardian, they say, I don't want my daughter to know she has breast cancer. I cannot tell the daughter that she has breast cancer.
Wow. That's crazy. What an awkward situation it could put in. But I guess, that's a cultural thing.
It's cultural here, and
Yeah.
I just have to respect that. I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. I just have to follow the rules and respect that that's how they wish to do things here.
Yeah.
Now, most of the time, it's meant kindly. It's meant to protect the patient. They don't want the patient to suffer or stress or be to worry. So they mean by it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's no malice there. It's more, just because it's something we think is unusual doesn't necessarily mean it is. But what does it take to be a successful nurse traveling abroad?
Definitely being open-minded and accepting that things are not going to be familiar and having to be okay with the things that are different. So I tell people all the time here that being in Saudi Arabia is practice in being patient.
Okay.
Just understand that I choose to be here in this country, and I know I said this earlier, and this is a choice I make. So if there's something I disagree with or can't tolerate, then it's time for me to leave.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Kevin. If you're enjoying this episode with Kim, I want to invite you over to YouTube where I finish off this interview with Kim. There's a little bit more information available on the YouTube channel that didn't quite make it to this episode. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It talks a little bit more about her stories working abroad. So if you're interested, go on over to YouTube. Take a look for the YouTube channel, Art of Emergency Nursing. I'll put a link in the show notes down below, and you can check out the rest of the interview with Kim. Again, thank you so much for listening to the episode. I appreciate you being here. If you get a chance, please do me a favor and go to iTunes, leave a 5-star review, and leave a nice comment. I'll be reading some of the comments in upcoming episodes. I'd love to see your comments, and doing so helps other people find the show. So if you'd do that for me, I'd really appreciate it. Have a great shift.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Emergency Nursing podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Facebook.